You know, at the heart of our age is this idea that we live in this time in which rich people talk a great deal about saving us and changing the world and making a difference, but are in fact building and operating and maintaining a system that is destroying the American dream for most Americans. It's hard to think about someone who captures that better for me than David Rubenstein of the Carlyle Group, a private equity firm out of Washington.
On behalf of the National Park Service, I'd like to welcome you to National Mall and Memorial Parks.
You're most likely to hear about him today as a patriotic philanthropist. He buys stuff for the government that the government couldn't afford. An old copy of the Magna Carta, 13th Amendment, and then he'd donate it to National Archives or to other government agencies.
It is a true pleasure to introduce a man who has great respect for American history. Ladies and gentlemen, a true patriot, David Rubenstein.
When the Washington Monument was damaged by an earthquake in 2011, a crack down the middle, perfect metaphor for everything that was happening in Washington, David Rubenstein stepped up when the government was unable to pay half of the $15 million bill.
I only did what other Americans who have the good fortune that I have had would have done, presented with the same opportunity.
One of the things that's less well known about him is that he and his firm and his industry have pushed very hard for something called the carried interest loophole.
Many Americans have had good fortune. I have had good fortune.
Which is a special tax benefit for very wealthy financiers that basically allows them to be taxed at a much lower rate than their secretaries, as Warren Buffett famously put it.
I really wanted to give back to the country.
So you have a guy who has fought for this tax break that by some estimates costs the U.S. government $18 billion a year.
This was just a down payment on my obligation to repay the country for what it has done for me and for my family.
And then gets, with a little fraction of that money, to the government for these little projects.
I hope to do other things that will help repay.
Gets rebranded as a patriotic philanthropist.
I hope other Americans will take up the banner and also begin to participate in what I'd like to call patriotic philanthropy.
He's had the audacity to say,
the federal government doesn't have the money to do everything it would like to do and can't do everything it did in the past.
Rich guys like me have to step up. At the heart of what I'm critiquing is not simply what David Rubenstein or the Carlyle Group does, but what we do as a society when we turn someone like him into a philanthropist, instead of a moral debtor who should be begging for our mercy.